folks, welcome to part 2 of Melissa's menu. We are still talking about delightful desserts tonight. Our first part of the show went fabulous. It went so well that it's actually one show in itself, and now we have another special guest on with us this evening. Ashley Thompson, come on over and say hello.
Hello.
She's a pastry chef. She has her own company called
Leaven from the Oven.
Leaven from the Oven. She also works at Cravings Cafe, and she also works at Piece of Cake in Plymouth, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This girl is super busy and super talented. So tell our audience what we are making tonight.
Today we are going to make crazy cake, which is a recipe my grandmother came up with during the Depression when butter and eggs were not something that were easy to find. So this recipe, it's a normal normal chocolate cake recipe, but it contains no butter and no eggs. So it's great for people who have an egg allergy also, because it doesn't have any.
Okay, no egg and no, what was the other?
No butter.
No butter. Okay, so this is really interesting.
It's good, I promise.
We were talking before we started the show tonight, and tell us more about the background with your grandmother making this recipe.
It was just something that she came up with back, like I said, in Depression times when those ingredients were really expensive and really hard to come by, but they still wanted something good to eat and wanted some desserts. So
now, was she big into baking?
Yes and no. My grandmother is the best cook I've ever eaten.
Mine is too.
Oh my gosh, her fried chicken, I'm not kidding, it's worthy of dying over. It's amazing. But other than crazy cake, there's not really many desserts that she makes. This is kind of her one-hit wonder, and
okay, her signature item.
Yeah.
So let's take a let's go over here. So what do we have in the bowl first? Why don't you tell us what the measurements are, if you recall exactly how much is in here?
So not only is this recipe really easy to make, but you're only going to have to mess up one bowl in your kitchen.
One bowl recipe. I love this already. This is great. And folks, you don't even need a mixer.
Nope. So in this bowl here, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of granulated sugar, to refresh myself,
yep.
1/3 cup of cocoa, and a dash of salt, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda.
Okay, pretty standard, easy
very
ingredients.
Easy.
Okay.
So you're just gonna mix this stuff up until it's incorporated. It doesn't need to be completely.
And this is your regular, like, unsweetened cocoa powder?
Yep.
Okay.
Just regular, I think it's
very easy.
Hershey's brand.
Yeah, yep.
So one little quirk about this recipe that my grandmother does is you want it, once this is mixed in, smooth the top off.
Okay.
And
this
you're gonna
is new. I don't know about this.
It's the only recipe I've ever done this. So you're gonna make 3 holes in your dry ingredients.
Oh,
Just dig 3 little burrows.
Okay.
And sometimes they kind of collapse in, and that's okay.
I'm so curious what we have going on here. I'm guessing, I think I know what we're going to do, but...
So once you do that, then you're just going to add in your wet ingredients.
Okay.
So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I usually don't measure my vanilla.
Oh, you're one of those. Oh, I wish I could do that.
Everything else I measure, but...
I see. I cannot do that yet. I can't get to the point where, especially with baking.
Yeah.
Because baking, you have to be so precise, as we talked about that in the past on the show.
Oh, it's
so I'm surprised that you just did that. Yeah.
Everything else I measure.
Okay.
And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
Right into another hole.
Okay.
So these 3 ingredients you want to keep separate until you mix. Yep.
So Ashley, tell us about this particular step right here. So this is in place of our what? Our egg or butter?
Kind of everything. It's going to act, because it's such high in acidity, it's going to kind of act as a binder and keep the cake together without having to have butter or eggs in it.
Right. Okay, good.
So you want to keep that separate in its own little pocket, and then we're going to take 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil and pour it in another pocket.
Okay.
Oops, and mine overflowed a little bit. That's okay, because we're about to mix.
All right.
So scoop this out, and then you just add 2 cups of cold water on top of this and mix it together.
I'll mix it if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Now, what is the purpose of the 3 pockets here?
Because you want to keep the apple cider vinegar separate until you're ready to mix it.
Okay.
Yep. There's 1.
Okay. So folks, super simple. Most of these ingredients are right in your cupboard, correct? Right in your pantry?
So easy.
Yeah.
2 cups of cold water and you're done.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to try this.
It's so easy.
Oh, yum. And let's talk about the temperature for the cake and what size this makes and all that.
Sure. So this we're gonna bake at 350 for about 30 minutes. Depends on what you're baking. This makes really good cupcakes. I've used it in layered cakes. You can use it for everything. This recipe will make 2 8-inch cake pans.
Okay.
So enough to make like a layered cake.
Okay.
And these are the ones that take about 30 minutes. If you're cooking something else, you just want to check it. You can use the toothpick test if you want, or you can kind of tap the side of the pan, and when you see that it's not jiggling in the middle, then it's set.
That's true. My grandma used to tell me that as well.
And when you're preparing your pan for this recipe, this is one of the only cakes I do this with, and it's only because this is how my grandmother does it. We are going to coat our pan in shortening.
Okay.
I usually just put a little on a paper towel and kind of rub it on, mostly because it's messy.
Folks, look at this. It's so glossy and pretty and perfect. Love it. Smells so good. My favorite, as you all know, is chocolate, so that's why I'm really excited tonight. Oh, this looks beautiful. Very easy too, you know. You really can't mess it up.
It's true. So once you have that coated, my grandmother, instead of using flour, she likes to use sugar.
Oh,
so
that's brilliant.
Coat the pan with shortening and then a little bit of just regular granulated sugar.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that.
I know. It's my grandma. She's amazing. So then you just mix this around, and I'm just going to go over the sink so I don't make a mess.
Okay. So Ashley, tell us where you went to school to be a pastry chef.
Sure. So I went to Le Cordon Bleu in Portland, Oregon before I moved to Massachusetts. I'm actually originally from Idaho. I've only lived in Massachusetts for a little over a year.
How do you like it here?
I love it.
That's because she's dating a nice boy.
It's very true. There's definitely things from home I miss, but being next to the ocean, and I just love the atmosphere. I love being in the city. I really love it here. It's good.
And so how long was your schooling for? Was that a 4-year school?
No, it's actually a 9-month on-campus program, and then we do a 3-month internship afterwards, so it comes to about a year.
Okay.
And you can go on and take the culinary side as well if you want. They offer an associate's and a bachelor's degree through them, but I just did my pastry and baking certificate.
So you prefer baking versus cooking?
Yes, I love to cook at home, but I have no interest in becoming a chef of a restaurant.
Okay,
so.
Good. You know exactly what you want.
Yes. So we're just going to pour this in here now, and like I said, this will make 2 of these pans, so we're just going to put half in.
Okay.
Let's get my hair out of the way.
Oh, this looks wonderful. Very.
Make this a little tall.
What is your favorite thing to bake?
Ooh. Probably cakes.
Yeah.
I love cake decorating is my passion. It's the reason I went to pastry school in the first place.
Okay.
So definitely cakes is my favorite to make. And this is all set.
And we are gonna
put it in the oven
a little bit later. We're putting this in the oven, folks, 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And why, just so I know and our viewers, why do we put it on the bottom rack?
The best place to bake anything in your oven is the close to the center as you can get it, because especially if you have a convection oven where the air is moving around, you want it as close to the middle as you can for the most even baking.
Okay.
Ovens tend to have hot spots, so if you push stuff to the back or the front or the sides, you're going to probably catch one of those.
Okay. Okay, folks, so we have our cake ready. Now, this part is going to be interesting for me because I was telling Ashley earlier, I took a cake decorating class several years ago, actually. And I just wasn't great at it. I enjoy cooking more, but I want to learn about baking and I want to get into it. But I'm not great at this, but she says that I can do it. So
you can easily do it.
We're going to start from scratch here. Tell us about your frosting over here.
So for this cake, I'm using a basic buttercream frosting, which is going to be butter, a little bit of vanilla, and powdered sugar. Super easy. Yep.
Okay, I can make that.
So easy, and it's kind of idiot-proof. If you get it too wet, just add more powdered sugar. If you get it too dry and clumpy, add a little bit of milk to thin it out, and you're all set.
Do you make this in the mixer?
Yes, absolutely, in the mixer for this.
Okay.
It's really easy, too. If you want to add cream cheese, you can just soften a little bit of cream cheese and add that in there. It definitely adds a little bit of flavor to it.
Yeah.
Really good.
Now talk to us about our colored frosting. I'm guessing this is just some food coloring?
Yeah, it's the same frosting that's in the bowl, just with a little food coloring. And I have 2 different kinds of piping bags here. These ones are disposable. They're just plastic. You just use it once and then toss it when you're done.
Okay.
This is a fabric bag, which
I like this.
can be reused. Yeah, they're great. You know, if you're looking to be like eco-friendly, these
Yeah.
are awesome. You just wash them out and reuse them. I usually use sometimes really bright colors like these ones will dye these bags. So if that's something you're concerned about, you want to stick with the disposable for really bright colors.
Okay.
Because it will dye your bag.
All right. So basically you just take your frosting, you put it in the bag, and then just kind of squeeze it down.
Yeah.
Do you want to get as close as you can to
yes.
the tip right here?
So usually when I'm filling a bag, you're going to kind of want to invert it.
Okay.
Around your hand. So your hand is like inside the bag.
Right.
That way when you're filling it, you kind of have your hand to use as a backbone, and it doesn't collapse on itself, and it doesn't make a big mess.
Okay. Now, do you use just like a spatula to put the frosting in?
Yep, just a regular spatula, toss it right in there.
And that's it?
Yeah. These bags, you can either put a piping tip. They come with the end complete.
Okay.
So you'll slide your piping tip down and then you cut it off where you need it.
Yep.
I have what are called couplers in these. They're just little plastic pieces.
Yes.
And it's so you can take piping tips and you can put as many as you want on there. There's 3 separate pieces.
Oh.
So you just pop the tip on there and then the little locking mechanism and you just spin it on. That way you can use one bag for a color and you can put as many tips as you want on there and make as many designs.
Oh, so that makes more sense if
Yeah.
you want to. If you plan on using the different tips and the different designs
Yes.
and stuff, yeah.
Or else you'll end up with like 50 bags on your table with all different piping tips.
And then talk to us a little bit about the tips here. Obviously, the smaller the tip is for the real fine lettering and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's literally hundreds of tips you can buy. They have all different designs and uses. There's ones I don't even know how to use, a lot of them. But like the one here, this is a size 2. It's just a small. It's used for writing or small dots, things like that. This one is another smooth tip. It's just a lot bigger. This is a size 12.
Okay.
So this is what we use, for the border and for the flowers.
Yay. Are you going to show me how to do the flowers?
Yeah, they're so easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's begin. Okay,
Okay.
so how do we start frosting? So first of all, the cake has been cooled for how long?
You want to cool in the pan for about 5 minutes until you can handle it with your bare hands, and then you want to unpan it.
Okay.
If you let the sugar set up on the bottom, I actually used this cake on purpose because I let it sit a little too long, and it got a little too cool. So when I took it out of the pan, part of the corner was left in. But don't panic. Cake is so easy to fix. Frosting is like magic. You can just cover that right up, build it out, and you'll never know it was gone.
Now that's interesting because I would think if you left it in there longer, it'd be cooler, it'd be much easier to take out, nothing left in the pan, but you're saying otherwise.
Most cakes, that is the case, but because this one is shelled with the sugar, when the sugar's hot, it's going to be soft and liquid. When it cools, it's going to go back to its like harder form, and it'll like mold the cake to the bottom of the pan, and it'll be stuck.
Okay.
Really stuck.
Good tips.
Yes.
All right. Now talk to us a little bit about your cake tools. What are these called, and which one do you use first, and all that?
So these are called offset spatulas, and it's just because the metal part's not totally straight. It just has a little curve.
Okay.
And that's my personal preference. Some people prefer the straight ones. Whatever you're most comfortable with is what you should use. They come in all different sizes too. I have small hands, so I like this is technically a medium size. There's one that's much bigger.
Okay.
And I like this one, and this is called a baby offset because it's so tiny.
Yep.
Those are what you're going to use to put your frosting on the cake and smooth it off.
Okay. Easy enough.
Yeah. So if you want to, you can do what's called torting a cake, and it means when you cut it in half and add a filling. So we're going to do that tonight. And normally I would use a longer bread knife or like a serrated narrow knife, but I want to show people how to do it with this knife in case you don't have one of those.
Okay.
It seems really terrifying, but it's really easy. So you're just going to take your knife. Yeah, you're going to kind of like lean over and get on your level and put your hand right on top of your cake.
Eye level, okay.
About halfway down on your cake, and you're just going to use your wheel, if you have one, and just slowly, and at first you're just going to score your cake.
That's what it's called?
Yep. So you're just going to score it and just barely let the knife touch, and then as you find your line, the knife's going to gradually just like naturally fall in that.
Oh.
And you're just going to keep spinning and applying a little bit more pressure, and eventually you will just cut all the way through. And you just want to stay kind of down and keep your knife level.
Okay.
And you'll feel when it's done, like when it's not cutting anymore, there won't be any pressure.
So you definitely need your cake very cool for this part.
Yes. So we're all set, and you can kind of tell like the middle is just a little bit there still, so I'm just gonna kind of, there we go.
Okay, wow.
Slide your knife out. Yeah,
You make it look so easy.
and that's definitely more advanced. If you want to just use your cake this size and decorate it, you can, or you can add a little frosting here and put another layer on top.
That's what
and
I was
decorate.
wondering.
Yeah.
I would just, so this is your 8-inch cake, correct?
Yes, this is an 8-inch, 1 layer of cake.
So you can obviously, double that and do the filling here and then your other cake. Okay.
Yep. So then you're just gonna slide this guy off, and the cake will break in half if you're not careful. So you just put your hand underneath it.
Wow.
And then we're just gonna flip it over and set it to the side.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And it doesn't have to be perfect in the middle. If you see, mine's a little domed, so I let my knife get a little bit pointed up on me. It's no big deal. So we're just gonna take a little bit of buttercream and drop it right in the middle. Just a touch more. It's gonna run out. Do you want to smooth it?
Yeah. So just kind of, do I do it straight?
Yep, however you want. You can just smooth it out to be like kind of a thin layer between the cake. It doesn't need to be a lot.
Okay.
Because there's not a lot of cake.
Oh, look what it's doing.
That's okay. This is in the middle, so it doesn't matter.
I'm already messing it up.
And you want to watch, some people really like to have a ton of frosting and some like to have a little less, so you can definitely make it to your preference.
Okay.
How
close do I want to get to the edges?
Right up to the edge. If you're going to do a filling, this is important. So if you're going to use like a fruit filling or a pudding filling, anything like that, you want to take a little row of buttercream right around the edge of your cake and then put your filling in the middle, and that buttercream is going to lock it in.
Okay,
so it
that
doesn't,
makes sense.
like, as you put pressure on the cake when you're icing it, you don't want that filling to kind of squeeze out the layers. So just a real thin, you can use a piping bag, that'd probably be easiest, and just pipe a little thin row right around the side.
Okay.
And then you're filling in the middle.
How am I doing?
You're great. It's perfect.
You should be on that show Cake Boss or something, one of those.
I actually met him.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
When I was in school in Portland, Oregon, there's a really big food festival called Feast, and we got to help and be a volunteer for that, and he was there giving a demonstration, and we got to help do some of his prep work.
Wow.
Him and Duff Goldman, that owns the Ace of Cakes.
Oh, yeah.
Him as well.
Now, on the edges, should these be super, like, straight?
Nope, it's fine, because once we put this layer back on top, we're just going to add more frosting to it and do what's called a crumb coat. So that's just going to aid us in just a minute.
So far, so good.
So then you just want to use your hand,
Flip
it back
I'm
over.
nervous about. What if it breaks?
So if
I guess if it breaks, it's okay because we're going to have the whole thing frosted.
Yeah, if it breaks, then you put your pieces on your cake, like fit it back together like a puzzle, and you use frosting as glue.
This looks like a huge whoopie pie.
Right?
Ah. So are we doing the same thing for this?
Similar.
Okay.
So now we're going to start doing the sides and the top. I recommend starting with the top. We're going to do what's called a crumb coat. And this is really important if you have a chocolate cake and white frosting, because you don't want crumbs to show on the outside.
Which is what I just did.
Yeah. So for this, you're just going to do a really thin layer. Some people call it a skim coat or like a dirty ice. If you watch Buddy's show, what is it called? Cake Boss? That's what they call it, a dirty ice. So you're just going to do a really thin layer of buttercream, and it's going to lock all your crumbs in, and then you're going to start fresh with a new bowl that has no crumbs in it when you do the outside.
Oh, yay, okay.
So we'll start, let me steal that from you just for a sec.
Now, any particular reason that we're using the ssmaller spatula versus a large?
Personal preference.
Okay.
Is all it is.
I like that. That's not as intimidating.
Yeah, it's
this
so...
crap out of me.
So this coat, I mean, you want to be able to see cake through it.
Oh, okay.
We're going to
do...
So
it really is just barely coating it.
Yep, just a skim coat.
Okay.
So we're just going to do the top. And this is where we're going to address this little issue we have on the corner where I lost the side of the cake in my pan. So once you get the top just skimmed, you're just going to start adding a little bit to the side. Oh. So you just put it on the spatula and then on the side of your cake and just kind of go around. And this is where you want to be careful. See how my
crumbs.
spatula has tons of crumbs on it? You don't want to
Yes.
dip that back in your bowl.
Okay.
So I just will scrape mine off right on the side, so I know I have a little pocket there that's got crumbs.
Okay.
And just immediately reuse it.
Oh, you're gonna reuse it?
Yep, because it's in the crumb coat, it's fine.
So this is just our crumb coat, and then after that we'll do the other one.
Yep, so
Okay.
if you notice, every time I put my spatula back, I wipe it off to get rid of my crumbs before I go in my fresh frosting.
Okay.
And then your crumb coat's finished.
Okay.
So once this is done, usually you're going to want to let it sit for like 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Buttercream will begin to dry to the surface or to the air just a little bit. And we want this to set up just enough, especially this one corner here, that when I add my final coat, that doesn't collapse.
Okay.
So we're just going
So
to
we're
give
gonna
it like
cut for a
5
minute?
minutes.
Okay. Okay, folks, so we are back. We're just putting on the second coat of frosting.
Yeah, your final coat, yeah.
Our final coat of frosting, okay.
So you're going to go about this in the same process as you did the crumb coat. You're just adding frosting this time. So you're not going to scrape it down so thin.
Right.
I recommend starting from the top, and I just added, kind of depends on how much frosting you like. Some people go up to 1/4 of an inch. I prefer a little less frosting. Yeah, so you can put as much or as little as you want. You just don't want your cake to be showing through. So you're just going to roughly put this on for now. Try and get it as level as you can. Like I see a little low spot right here.
So explain to us what we're doing here.
So this is kind of a next step you can take if you really want to smooth your buttercream out. You can just take, this is just a mug that has really hot water, and you want to get it as hot as possible, like boiling hot if you can.
Oh, okay.
Usually we'll, like I'll use from like a coffee maker, so it's like really, really hot water.
Yeah.
And you're just going to get your spatula nice and warm, and then you're going to dry it off.
Okay.
And immediately hit your cake, and it's going to melt the butter just a touch and just really smooth it out. You'll especially be able to see it on the top.
Is this kind of like a hidden trick that you...
Yes.
Oh.
I'm telling you what I told you. And anytime you feel like it's starting to stick again, you'll feel that the spatula is going to glide really easy on
Okay.
it. So if you feel like it's starting to stick, you just need to warm it up again, and then we're just going to do the same procedure.
Wow.
Just right over the top.
Wow, what a difference.
It makes such a difference.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I'm just going to fix, so right here we've got a little low, so I'm just going to take a little frosting, add it right on there.
You never can have too much frosting, in my
It's
opinion.
true, and it honestly, frosting, it's like magic. If you make a mistake,
Right.
it can always be fixed.
I'm seeing that tonight, right.
Always be fixed.
So amazing.
Either fixed or covered up. Oops, that was the wrong bowl. So we're just going to work our way around the cake doing this. And we're going to put a top border on our cake, which is right around the edge here.
Okay.
So I'm not super concerned about the edges being perfect.
Right.
If a cake, like if someone ordered a cake that didn't have a top border, then I would take a little extra time and really make the edges
Okay.
be perfectly square and clean.
But we're not really going to see this tonight because we're going to decorate.
Exactly. It's going to have some frosting on it anyway. So I'm more worried about the middle of the cake. I'd like that to look nice and smooth.
How many will this feed?
This cake is a 1/2 of an 8-inch, so oops, it just has the bottom layer. So this is going to feed easily 10 to 15 people. The double of that obviously is going to feed the double of the numbers.
Okay.
Which is normally, if you call and order a cake, it'll have both layers on it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to smooth the middle out just a touch more. And I'm leaving this little ugly spot here on purpose. I'll show you in a minute.
Oh, okay. It looks so perfect.
Okay, we're all set.
There you have it. Good night, folks.
All right, so now we're gonna start our decorating. I usually like to start with my bottom border first.
Okay.
So we're gonna take, what color do you wanna make it?
Let's do the green on the bottom.
Okay. And you can do any colors you want in these bags. Super creative. So I like to use piping tips over and over again. So like you see, this one has pink in the bottom.
Yep.
So I'll just keep a paper towel handy and
Okay.
just squirt the pink out of it until it's all green.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then I start piping. So this is called a shell border. Very easy. This is the round tip, just a regular round.
Okay.
And we're just gonna put it in an angle right in the corner of the cake. And we're gonna squeeze a little pearl, and then we're gonna pull away. Pearl, pull away. And just go all the way around. You wanna try?
How do you make them so perfect?
Lots and lots of practice. You should see my boss do
Do
that.
I just hold it with one hand?
Yep,
Where do I hold it?
or two hands, sorry. So when you hold a piping bag, you wanna kind of push the frosting to the bottom and twist it off. That way you
Okay.
don't have any frosting trying to escape out the back.
Okay.
And this hand is your power hand. This is what's gonna squeeze the frosting out.
Okay.
Your other hand is simply guiding.
Oh, all right. So just kind of like rest my hand on.
Yep.
the other part.
So you're gonna squeeze with, if you're right-handed, squeeze with your right hand and guide with your left. Very nice. So now we're gonna do a top border. What color do you think we should do that one?
We'll do the pink.
So we're just gonna switch our tips out. And like I said earlier, these have couplers on them. So you just spin the little plastic piece and the tip pops off. And then we're gonna switch bags. Oops, this one's got one on there too.
Okay.
Switch bags, goes right back on the pink. And then we're just gonna
Same thing.
Yep, squeeze out until we have the color we want. Sometimes it takes a little more.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wipe the tip off. And we're gonna follow the same procedure just along the top of the cake. So then we're gonna do our inscription next. I always like to do like the decoration on the top of the cake, like the flowers in our cake. I do those last because sometimes it's really hard to fit a long inscription in a tiny
Yeah.
space.
Right.
So I like to do it first, personally. So we're just gonna switch tips to our small. This is our number 2.
Okay.
And the same thing, squeeze out till we have what we want. You can use separate tips if you want, if you don't wanna have the waste.
Okay.
So this little ugly spot here, I'm gonna cover with a flower.
Oh, show
That's
us how
why
to
I
do
left
flower.
it. Yep. So we'll do that with the big tip.
Oh, okay.
This is the inscription.
Okay.
So I'm just.
Great.
So we have our pink one on the big tip already. So we're gonna use that, and it's the same process as the big top border. There, you're just gonna squeeze a little, and drag to the inside.
Nice job. Good teamwork. There you have it,
Perfect.
folks. So we have
Yep.
2 cakes that we made super easy with her crazy cake mix, as she calls it.
Yep, crazy cake.
How can people reach you for your business?
I have my email address, which is my last name and my first name, 22@yahoo.com, or my personal cell phone number, which is an Idaho phone number. It's area code 208-899-6559.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is all the time we have tonight. I had so much fun.
So did I.
And I
It was
learned
good.
so much. I'm sure all of you guys did too. If you have any questions or comments, you can always reach me, melissasmenu@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook. You guys know how to find me by now. Special thanks to Ashley Thompson for coming on
Thank you.
tonight. A.L. Pedrozzani and Sons Painting Contractors, and the BBC, the British Beer Company, for underwriting Melissa's Menu. Thank you. Have a great night.